Hello everyone. I don't know how long this video will go for because it could go on and on because there is much that flows to do with this because this is right where it's at. That if anything is going on in our lives at all that we want so bad, we need to slow that down and understand this. We need to ask some honest questions. Is this a soul purpose? Or is this a human lifestyle wish? Because the universe is going to have answers and support you if you connect like a felt alignment with that what you want so much resonates a little higher in your field, and you feel, because we're feeling beings, we're vibratory, you feel there is a soul purpose. You can't pinpoint it. You don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future over it. But you are the one with the answers to do with co-creating with your support, energetic beings, support team, universe, one with, guiding you, guiding light, wants your light to shine more on this planet and your light assists others. If you get the resonance that what you're wanting, put it in words, speak it to a recording on your phone, speak it, write it, feel it. Is this a soul path and purpose? Or if this big dream I have is not it, what elements of what I'm wanting is something I should be following through on? Because although we don't put consciousness to it, we're literally waking up as we walk home. So our lifetime on the planet, we go back to spirit. So that's our home essentially. So we're waking up as we do the journey. All the way we are waking up to what we had set up before entering the body, the spirit into the body, with all the creation choosing that goes on with that, to do with that soul here and this time, this dimensional shift going on, and whether they follow through on their soul path or they can make other choices to veer away, but still will be guided to the soul construct path. So the correlation between the soul being here now and following through on particular elements previously set up before getting here, so all dimensional design into 3D to see out this path, you'll always be guided and felt. You'll feel, or you'll notice something, or someone will say something, or you'll feel that you enjoy a certain thing in life, activity or assisting or something, right? Soul is leading you if you have the eyes, ears, and heart to open up to. So you ask that question. And so if it has meaning and purpose, which is soul-led, you're going to feel something, but because the human part of us has been so overdeveloped, it can easily come into that soul feeling, that soul knowing, and crush it down. Okay? But I'm here to remind you that you are that soul knowing, and so you may have to, most definitely, but you might be at a stage now where you may have to blindly trust your feelings into the unknown, because that's your soul. And to see it clearer, you take steps or a step into it. You ask again, you feel again, you check in, because it might have just been that step that allowed you then at that step to ask the next question that might just veer you into something else. And then yet again, all of a sudden the universe helps you there, and then it might open into something else. And you check in with your soul self again. And all of a sudden, there's all this stuff opening up for you. Okay, that's the support of the soul. Opening, blooming. And it feels, because we're here to do more than one particular label of something, it feels like through life, you're blooming your bouquet, your endless bouquet as a soul. So if you wanted to sit with what I just said and just get to that stage within yourself where you can ask these questions of yourself, so you can feel the resonance and the rise of your own field. If it's more a human lifestyle, wishing something could be a certain way, now, that's fine to have all of those. As humans, we do. We grow up, we learn, we go through like the personality, but the personality is limited in the respect and aspect that it is just to support the soul opening and creation. So you can't stay, that person is that, and that's what they'll always be to me. Because that person's a soul, everyone's a soul, and so right there, how does that feel? To think that everyone's a soul, not just, oh, that person's just that role and they've got those amount of kids and he stays doing that for most of his life and that's the way it is, right? And then you open that up and say, well, actually, they're all bouquets. So if I was to turn around tomorrow and do a 360 and look back in their direction, right? So, you take it all in, that they're not just those labels, and you turn around and you look at them again, they could be doing something completely different tomorrow. And from my bouquet as a soul, I need to accept that. No longer can I lay judgment that they need to be a particular thing for me, or still doing that particular thing that did my safety needs, or just my needs were met in that way. We too have to say, if I can't label them, then I can't label me. And that's the new and the real reality. So the wishful part is obviously allowed. We're here to develop through knowing what we want and discovering what we don't like or don't want, all as unique beings, and the personality coming out to choose these things. But it's not the personality we're developing. Personalities develop from the soul inspiration. So we got to let people change from the inside, and they're going to change on the outside, and we got to go with the flow of that. And the more we accept that, the more we're in a grounded, new, higher state of being, that this world can change as much as it wants. And when there's like a global society, that community societies, that's enabling the free will of change, we have less division. We have less efforting to say, oh no, it must stay the same. Anything. So we're talking about a person, business in development stages. Oh no, it must always be this way. It's just the most false thing that we could persist with, because that simply is 3D allows us to create, right? To touch things, to do a variety of things. But who in the hell ever says that's the way it's going to stay? Okay, so I'm not asking for a name of a person, obviously, because that would just be like the shelter of 3D. Oh, so-and-so says it has to stay this way. No, you even question that. Like, that's what we're doing right now on this planet. We're actually rising up through the actual truth and looking at things and saying, it doesn't matter who you are, as long as you're upholding these values for humanity, that we support all in the good of all. And that's not religious, because I know some people will say, that's so very Christian of you. That's fine if you want, if you hear that kind of description. But what it is just truth. So any religion, and most of their bases do come from a community loving foundation of looking out for each other, gathering together, but growing together. There is not one community on this planet of any description that doesn't go through certain challenges, and at different times will reach for different members of the community, because their souls relate in opening or supporting, or just opening up the challenges of life, so they become more less of challenge and more of growth. So look at that. I mean, and I'll just leave it here with the fact that when I mention growth and how we can reach out to different people with our growth, there is no limitations in a tree. And we are nature. There is no limitations in us wanting change out this way of our tree, and then the light is calling us this way, so our tree is going to branch out there. We don't know. The tree doesn't even know how it's going to branch out. It's just going to follow the light and the nourishment. Because naturally, it doesn't fight wanting to feel good. In 3D, we've created that mental reality. God bless everyone. Take time with that. And I've got more to share on really acknowledging that the support and guidance is there, but what vibration are you choosing to believe in your choices, actions, decision, consciousness, thoughts, because it's all, even if it's not spoken, it's all energy. So whether you've got thoughts accumulated to an action, you've got a choice that you make just out of habit, your decision-making process only includes like a tiny bit of yourself and more about something else. Like, this is all vibrational, and yeah, we need to come home to ourselves as spirits, right? Spirits with bodies walking home back to spirit, but whilst here with the body, what are we doing moment by moment vibrationally, right? Because the lower consistency does not mean that you are listening to, asking your energy field which way to go. Because everyone knows, I may as well continue right now since it's flowing. Everyone knows, right? Well, those who don't, I'm bringing it to your attention again. Here you are as an entity, right? Okay, this diamond shape, this is your soul. Look at the outline of my hands, diamond shape, your soul. It's an energy entity, your soul, that you can feel into, and it'll be a higher vibrational, right? So it won't be the usual 3D whinge complaint of any sort. Okay? We're allowed to do that, but if you stay in those vibrations, you're not following your soul path. You are giving into a lower vibrational state of being based on a 3D reality you're not pleased with for some reason, and you're just going to live it out because it's become the norm that people complain, nothing gets better, we all stay this way, we point fingers, we blame, etc., etc. Yes, 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 and yes, it's all a given that you can choose that, you can believe that that's the only reality, but it's lower vibrational. The soul is not. Okay, so we need to actually consciously take this driving energy force of the soul and get the human up to speed with, if I'm doing this whingy kind of low vibrational, nothing changes, and all the different attachments that I can make that real, like that's what it is. I labeled life, that's what it is. You know, and that can go on in a description, as it has done, a mental reality. We talk it, we live it, we believe it's true, and that's all there is. But now it's time for the soul, and we're talking energy life, and we're talking multidimensional, truthful reality. You can't ignore it. Look into any proof you want. It's right in front of your face. Okay, but how we know it for real is vibrational. So we do different practices to come home to ourselves. Remember, we're walking ourselves home, so we're unfolding into the unknown with the co-creator of the universe. Powerful support if you just simply do things like ask yourself questions, which is dialoguing with your spirit, your spiritual support team, and the universe is one with that higher guidance. If you ever come across people who work with spirit and they still seem to be of lower vibrational resource, then there's an ego attachment embodiment there. So because spirit, the human will feel negative or lower vibrations, but you don't live it like a lifestyle and attach spirit to it. You live your spirit like the lifestyle, reaching for higher guidance, okay? And it's a given you will have some lower vibrational experience. This is the contrast. We learn from experiencing the contrast. I don't like this as a soul. I love this as a soul. So we must follow through on that. Our spirit soul. So our enjoyment for life, our higher vibrational personality involved in various activity, and our soul's path. The eternal soul coming through in this spirit in this lifetime. So we're vibrational beings, law of vibration. You have to acknowledge this. You can't live a contented life without actually looking at where you sit in your actions, choices. And we do need to slow that down because we're now acknowledging it. Like we haven't had to really look at it before. We can just throw out anything into the world and just think. But it's really coming to the crunch that the division of the realities is if you stay believing life is a certain way and don't actually notice you're more in control of your vibration and living out the soul's path than you are to the whinging nothing changes path, or the life is a negative fight all the time path, whereas life calls you to stand up for yourself, which feels like you're fighting because you have to sort of bring yourself out more. But life is not the fight. That is just so you bring yourself out more. So I don't like that. I do like this kind of thing. So I don't like that for the world. So this calls me to stand up and be more of myself and check in with my soul, what inspires me, what I'd like to move forward. And then, you know, you're doing that more sort of a little bit more nitty gritty with yourself in your spiritual practice, where you check in with how you're feeling as to where you're actually being guided. Not up in the mental too much. The head helps us to navigate through life, like the brain and the subconscious, the mind, like our choosing of the mind vibrations matters. So that's our thoughts in the quiet, our actions in the field, our choices, and what we actually analyze in decision making. So do we actually choose through egoic old subconscious response moving forward? Because then we got to notice that, because that's where there's not enough change and you need a more fluid response, which means, hang on, from this structured, limited way of living, I can adapt and change what is calling me. And that's where I said it could be in your field of life, in an environment, you hear something said, you feel a response to wanting to do something different. This is where we can't let the old of us squash the new of us. Always into the unknown in an unfolding. But not so much unknown that it's always like we're walking down a dark tunnel and we don't know what's going to be there if we take these steps, but more like we don't know what's going to happen, how the sun's going to rise or whatnot. You know, we can predict some things, but we actually got to walk into it. And in those moments, check in where you're at and how you vibrationally choose to use your power and awareness. Okay, the last thing I need to mention is that with all this vibrational talk and all of this coming more and more to our forefront awareness, that we have this power resource, all navigated by our internal vibration. What we've done is, and I have touched on this through this and other videos, we focus on what's been created by us or the world, and it gets too much of our attention. All right, this is where we think, this is where the whole scope of the mental 3D construct is, well, this is the way it is, this is the way it's always been, or this is what we expect. And that gets our power. That gets our focus. That gets our vibrational, our focus gives it a vibrational output from us. So we're matching the vibration of same, or hanging out with negative people, or someone with the narrative of blame, or having to live up to the same particular standards, but never feeling like you get there because you're not meant to get there. You see? So, because something else is calling you, but we're still trying to live in an old system. So the more we allow what is, meaning what has been created, what we're putting our attention to, we need to open that up. Because that opening allows the true unlimitedness of being all of us as a whole central to working with the universe. So it's like looking through a tiny little hole of a telescope and then just kind of throwing it and saying, this is the way it is. Into no more little telescope, we are it. You know, it's like this massive, where's the end? There is none. So how about we just sit in peace for the next couple of minutes? I like to finish the videos if I can sometimes, because I can go on and on about just whatever flows in to describe if I feel it can be of any assistance. But it feels like we can come to a close with a nice peaceful landing in this at the approximate 30-minute mark. So if we could just breathe all of that in and out. We are really becoming embodied energy fields, energy awareness of this whole functioning. Like we're actually feeling it more so, which is why we're connecting more with spiritual teachers, leaders of all kinds in all of our lives. Higher truth. We're just naturally attracted to the higher resonance, the higher vibration of the natural higher truth. We're just naturally called to vibrate higher. Okay? All the way up. But all the way up also means with your two arms all the way out and all the way to the planet. We're doing it for her or with her and everyone on it. And work with your breath like it's the most important gift for all your higher consciousness entry and exit into the fields of life, into the system we are one with. Into the one big, massive field of consciousness. And if you truly start to open and embrace to that global, universal communing, it is your community. And the gift of breath is quite an extraordinary, relevant, precise truth, delivery, and giver to you. So with everything that's been said, it's all for the more opening, and the more opening of your breath one with, to actually feel like you are held by a global community. And in saying global, it is universal. So don't just picture people. I just feel, and I'm held by the air we breathe. Meaning, if I'm at a higher consistency and I one with, I receive. So it's, when I say global community, I'm not saying just think all of us people. I'm saying the global community, family, universally. We are so loved. So if you don't feel loved, allow in the truth and fact. You are. Never a moment that goes by where your light is not known and watched over from the higher beings of light. In all forms, whatever your soul has connected with or will connect up with in this time. So let's really land with that. You are a definitive entity of soul. Okay, it's higher vibrational, loved, watched over. And it is a place for you to meet at and ask questions of. So you can come back home into that diamond-shaped connect, heaven and earth. and your expanse here. This is definitive, and this feels ever so content and bright. The more, if you get into your feeling state, you will know your frequency lit, and you can ask those higher vibrational questioning needs and wants, and feel into whether this place and space is like speaking. Okay, but I'd probably recommend if you go to the mind with what I just said, that you need to do some kind of self-chosen meditation that you're led to. Because there can be various teachers, various kinds of meditation. So you would go to your heart and you would look into meditation, and you just listen a little bit to what it's called, or what it represents, or how long it is, and feel each time trying new things until you get to a place where you're like, okay, I can actually be still to this music, this voice, or this form of meditation, whether it's just like crystal bowl sounds or something where you can just stay in this place and let life go a little bit and allow this inner voice to ask questions with the human that you know yourself to be, remembering you're a soul unfolding. The human is still present, but the soul speaks. When the human says, through inner dialogue, is this path for me? Is this choice I'm thinking I'd like to look into? Guides, spiritual support team, soul, how does this feel? And then you're allowing in the higher vibrational communication of truth, of you. And like I said at the beginning of this talk, the human and all it's currently attached to could try and keep you there. So there could be a battle ensue, but if you come back home regularly to your meditation process or follow through on any little studies of multi-dimensional awareness, spirituality, stillness, living in the present, anything that triggers like a heart to the mind response, listen to that heart. Don't let the egoic mind or the human mind just put a lid on it. Just even if you just do little pushes of it open by saying, I'm going to put myself in a meditative state regularly. Not with the mind, like sit here and meditate. Like I'm going to commit to just getting to that place, opening the lid to question this soul space and place, and breathe. And I'm not going to shut this down for anyone. Then you'll be opening up your space and place to be very real. And that is a real reality that we are going to make. I'll leave it there for now. God bless everyone. Much love. This is utmost important to our hearts, minds, body's souls, to be soul felt, to be soul leaders. To be soul led by ourself is to naturally lead without having a label of it. But this is how we bring in whatever it is the soul needs to be. Bye for now.